Now we're gonna create this effect of clicking on the icon, then have this X, clicking on the X, having this amber gun icon. What are we going to do? I like to explain what's going on behind the scenes right here. When we have this on our normal state, we have a background for this one, the main one, which is green. And when we click, we're gonna put the background to transparent. We're going to rotate the first element, which is this before, some degrees, and rotate this after element some degrees. Then we're gonna put them on top 0, 0, so that we can make that X happen. Let's write this what I've said. Here in our menu, before we go to our nav here, let's simply make sure that as we click in our icon, we have a checkbox. Check it. So let's say our check box. When it is checked, we're gonna want to make the background transparent in our icon. Let's open our structure here. We have the checkbox, the icon box, and our icon. So let's go to our icon box and our icon. What are we going to have to do is to put the background color to transparent. Let's save and see if this is working now or not before we continue. Okay, I'm going to click here. Here it's working. You see, when it's checked, the background becomes transparent. When it's not checked, it doesn't become transparent. Very good. Now let's put our before and after elements really next to each other. So before here, and after, we're going to put the position to be on top 0, and this one also let's reset the top to 0 and save. See what's going to happen right now. Oh, this shouldn't be here. I'm sorry for that. Let's click. Now we have both of them overlapping each other. Nice. We're going to rotate this one. So let's use transform, rotate, and let's try some 90 degrees. This shouldn't give us perfect results because this will simply make it become perpendicular. Very good. That's what we want. So our before element is rotated 90 degrees. So let's use our inspect here. Click on this and let me inspect. You can see before element it's rotated 90 degrees. But if we want to have that kind of cross, we must rotate it more. Let's go and see. The best one is 135. Then we should rotate our after element to have some 135 also, but in the negative direction. So let's simply put here 135. The after element is going to have also a rotation, but in the negative direction. So let's see how it's gonna look like right now. You click here, you have boom. Now you have that effect, and if you click again, all becomes the hamburger icon. We can simply add the transition and stuff. So let's come here to our elements where they are. just before and after, because we can have them all. That 3 seconds, save and see how it's gonna work. F5, because this sometimes doesn't update correctly. Here we have, now we're gonna focus on having our menu elements right here. Let's go to our structure, where it is right here after our div. We're gonna give these all inside of a nav. This is gonna be nav. We're gonna have an ordered list. This one we can give the class of nav list. We have each element here, which is list item. The class I'm going to say nav list item. We're gonna have anchor tag, which is the link. This is gonna be the nav list link. Goes to nowhere. The text, first one is home. Let's go to the next one. Let's save our nav and see what it's going to be. Now we can see it because this background is set to have a fixed position. The height is always 100% of the viewport height. Then you can see nothing that you put here. Let's use our inspector and hover here and remove this fixed position. Now you can even see the first element that we have added, which is this input of checkbox here on the first row. When you go down, you can see that yes, here we have, and the entire page is also here. Let's start removing this element, which is our checkbox, nav and checkbox. This should have a display of none. Let me hover to make sure that I have touched the right element. Main navigation checkbox, is this the class? Main navigation checkbox, this is the class. Next, let's say our nav is gonna have a position, which is also going to be fixed. Let's say the height is going to be 100% of the viewport height. I'm going to say that I want it to be from top 0 and from right I want to have 0. The same we did here. This should be right here. Next, I can simply put a z index which is greater than the 300 that we have defined it here. And let me give a width of 100% of the parent element. Then overflow, I like to put this to hidden. And save here also. Let's see how this is gonna behave right now. Okay, here we have, very good. Let's continue. Our nav list can be centralized, so you text center, and I'm going to take advantage of that nav that I have here. Simply come here, paste this, and remove from here. The next big change is going to happen to our list. Let's put the elements centralized, coming here and list, hover, and you're gonna check nav list. Let's put the position of that because our text is centralized using our unordered list view text center class. So let's put the position to be really absolute. Let's try from top some 35% and left some 50%. Transform, translate in both directions, minus 50% and minus 35%. Let's save, and here we have it centralized. I'm going to set its width to inherit. It's also going to be 100%. That's another way that you can use to do that. Let's work with our items. We're gonna increase the font size to some 3 rem. Put the font weight to be more light, 400. The letter spacing is gonna be 2 rem with that dot, and save. See how it's gonna behave. Okay, very good. We're gonna put some margins between them except the last one. So, and not margin bottom, and not last child, I mean. we're gonna increase a margin to the bottom of some 14 pixels. Save. Now it's much better. What we can do next is format the links that we have inside of that. So let's simply write here what's link. We have the state of link, the state of visited. You can add more states right there. We're gonna make them be displayed as inline block elements. The color needs to be white. Let's add some padding. To the top I would like 1 rem, left and right 3 rem. And how we're gonna have some background effect of that gradient. Let's right now think in advance to add transition to some 3 seconds. Save that and see. Very good, very good. Now we can work with that background that happens to our link. What we simply have to come and do is, as we hover, we're gonna insert the background image, which is going to be the one that we have as a linear gradient. Now let's make something right here. Before I write with you, this background is a linear gradient with some inclination. We have some 130 degrees of the inclination during the transition of the colors. The amount of red here is not that pure that we defined it in our variables. We want 40% from this beginning, and we want the rest to simply be 80% to be occupied by the blue. So we want from the 80% of the complexion, which is right at this interval, which is going to give me some kind of what I can say. It's not I can say 100 minus 80 is 12%. So the 12% is going to be completed by the blue, and the rest of the color is going to be completed by my red here. So let's start with our color red. As I write, this is going to be more intuitive, and let me put my color blue. Here I'm going to put 40%. Let me save it and see how it's gonna look like. Not here, but here. Okay, now you can see the red is simply occupying a certain part of the background here. I have defined my color blue to be 40%. So from the 40% here, I'm going to have my blue. How I simply want a little bit of it, I'm going to start with 88%. So I'm going to have mostly another color. Let me save and update here. That's what I should have done. Click here. Okay, now you can see that the most part of the color is occupied by the red. Then I have my blue here from 88%. Nice. What I'm going to do is insert some degrees for that. 130. This is the best one. Save it. Refresh. Now you can see they have rotated. So now I have 130 degrees, but still keeping that percentage. And I'm going to say that I simply want to the 40% to be until that point really occupied by this full red. Let's save, and this must give us that effect. Nice. So in between here we have really much the transition of the color from red to blue, and we have blue from here to the finish. That's the idea behind all of that beautiful thing. Let's simply use here transform and skew. You already know how to use this. I'm gonna put -6 degrees and scale it to some 1.2. Let me save and see how it's gonna look like right now. Very good. Let's continue. Now we have to focus on making this thing right here happen. Let's start with our background. We must make sure that at first its opacity is gonna be set to 0 because we don't want to see that. And when we click, that's when it's going to come in place. Let's add some transition here, all 0.3 seconds. If you feel that you want to have a transition where you simply pass the variable or the parameter of the amount of time using your mixing, that's up to you. You can do. I won't be doing here. And our nav also needs to have some kind of transition when it comes here. So transition all and put that 3. I want to have some ease in. You can try easing out. Then cubic Bezier, you simply have to go to the internet and try to find a cubic Bezier style, but that's not too much. You can easily find by yourself. The width initially is not going to be 100%, but let's set it to 0 because we don't want to see our nav at first. Let's go there. Okay, this seems to be what we want. Then we're gonna change those properties when we click on that beautiful menu icon that we have developed. Now this is easy to make. We are in our main navigation, where it is here, main navigation. We can simply come here and say and check boxy. When it's checked, we do something, but how we have some formatting right here after in the nav, I think it makes much sense to put right here below. So let's say main navigation again, our check box, nice. We're gonna say when it gets in the checked state, what we are going to format is our nav background. Nav background. Okay, here we have our checkbox. Again, we want to format what is our class nav background, this one. What we have to do is to set its visibility back to visible and opacity back to 1. The same is going to happen to nav. So let's simply say here, and when we are using our pseudo class checked, we wanna format our nav and set its width back to 100%. Let's save and see if this is gonna work or not. It's not working. Let me click here again. Now it's working. Yes, this is what we really want. This is the same menu that here we have. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, something is happening here. You can see that my Velar car right here is more to the right side and this more to the left side. If this doesn't really bother you, you can leave. And the icon here is really more at the bottom and to the left side than here. We can fix that by really trying to figure out the right values for the positions from top. I have set to 2 RAM. Maybe if we set to 3 RAM, this is gonna fix because I didn't change much things. And let's save. Give it 5. Still not where we want. Maybe I didn't update here. Okay. So I'm going to use my inspector right here and go directly with the values. Okay, from top 3 RAM, let me add right 1 1 and go here, use my inspector and see if I'm going to have on the same position. Very good, this is the right position. So let me update here. So change this to 7. Let's see what's next. Our velar. Here we have our right velar. Where are you? So let me go to background car. Okay, right 0, top 0. I'm going to leave this as a challenge for you right now. You can make that be really at the same position that I want, but I'm going to fix with you in case you don't know how to really put that in the same position that I want. There are many ways to do that. One thing that I have not said here is that we didn't set the visibility of this to be hidden. We can set it here. This won't make any really high change, but if you want the velar right here at the same position that I want, I prefer to leave to you as a challenge, and that's not something that we should really bother. That should really bother us, because yes, the velar is right here. This is simply a small shift that's happening. Take it as a small challenge for you, and just leave in the comment section if you figure it out how you can make that. But it doesn't really make much difference right here. What we can even make to our mixing of background card that came into my mind right now is to make sure that the background doesn't repeat when there is much space. Then it's resolution. Let's go to our mixins and put here back repeat, no repeat. This is not made with the intent to solve that problem, so don't think I'm solving that. But I should change the name. It's not a problem, because it's really a way we want to be, as we don't care much about that. Here you have developed your project. I think this was a huge part of the course for you, and you learned a lot of beautiful stuff related to CSS, design, and code. Here you have, now you can showcase to your friends your skills of web design, development with HTML and CSS. And they might not believe that you did all of this using CSS. They might ask you if you have used a JavaScript or not, but tell them no, just CSS. The next part is to talk about the responsiveness. Do you see what's happening with this website as we reduce the screen size? It's adapting to the screen size. Let's forget this first part. Come here down. As we reduce the screen size, now you can see that these icons came down, but here the icons are still here, really one on top of the other. Everything is really with a bad look. Let's go down in demands. You can see how it looks right now. We even have this customized card here, which is really something beautiful. In our top models, one is following another in a row, while here we don't have, and we're going to talk much about that in the next section or lecture.